Did Marvel Comics block Sina Grace from writing IDW Spider-Man? Wow, they may have blocked Sina Grace. I've read some of what this is about, and I would have blocked Sina Grace, to be honest with you, based on his attitude. Before we get into it, if you want to support my work, collegeofthedead.com. Get a copy of College of the Dead Graduation Day, where college costs you an arm and a leg. And sign up at epicmermaids.com for the upcoming series, The Mermaids. It's a full-color graphic novel. Back to the article. Around this time last year, Jutero wrote about one of his favorite X-Men titles, Iceman, written by Sina Grace. And on Sina's Tumblr post about his time at Marvel, writing the book, and a lack of support from Marvel while he dealt with online harassment as well as lack of support and promotion for Iceman itself. You know, Marvel publishes a lot of comics, and as we've heard Robert Kirkman say, they don't promote all of their comics equally. So if you happen to be fortunate enough to be a paid freelance creator working for a major comic book company, which is, there's very few people that get that opportunity, you can't expect that they're going to support and promote your work so you can build your career like they did for Robert Kirkman with Marvel Zombies, and like they did with Todd McFarlane for Spider-Man, and then, they can't build everyone's career at the big companies. They can offer you freelance work that will get you a lot of attention, but unless the work somehow speaks for itself, or unless you prove yourself meritorious enough to work on their major projects that they're going to promote, or if you put the 5 or 10 or sometimes 15 years that other people put in to get the best opportunities, proving yourself to editor after editor after editor, showing people how focused and how knowledgeable you are about the comics and the universe. Unless you put the work in, you can't expect to just float over to Marvel Comics or DC Comics, be given either a gigantic title to work on, like Batman or Spider-Man, and then they'll promote you, they'll promote the character, and all you have to do is just say, hey, I want the opportunity. Like, there's obviously 10,000, 100,000 people that want the same opportunity. So they're not going to just give it to you because you're Sina Grace. It doesn't happen that way. This is what his prior Tumblr post said. All of the weird drama I put up with crystallized when I created a drag queen mutant called Shade, now called Darkveil. I told my editor that Shade would be a big deal for X fans, and asked how we should promote her. Okay? He said, leave it up to the reader's interpretation. Everyone at Marvel shrugged off 2 years of goodwill and acted like I'd coordinated behind their backs on an announcement that made headlines. Okay, so he created a drag queen mutant. Fine. If you don't capture people's interest with your creations, beyond yourself and beyond a specific community that wants to promote unique creations like this type of creation, if you don't resonate, if your character doesn't resonate, if your idea doesn't resonate, it doesn't sell. You have to go on and do something else if you want to be a professional. Continuing. Beyond mentioning on Instagram the queens who inspired the character, I didn't coordinate anything. Of course their head publicist can't admit that my quotes were pre-approved from an unreleased interview. Okay? At this point, I stopped believing that there'd be any more work for me. Yeah, because what happens is, as publishers, when we hire freelancers to work for us, and I've hired a lot of freelancers, I've even had salaried W-2 people working for me, we want people to just do the work. And if you do an excellent job and you get us extra sales and attention, we really like it if you make our jobs easy, because we have other things to worry about other than just physically making the books in running a business. Then you want to make our lives easy. If you're employed by someone, you make their life easy, you do great work, you're going to get more work, or you're going to go somewhere else because people are going to want you to do great work for them. There were so many shady moves, no pun intended, I guess, right? So many shady moves on their end that I'm still having trouble putting into language. Wow, for a writer. But it all aligned with an experience I had in retail where a corrupt manager kept lying and moving the goalposts in order to keep me selling in a department I didn't want to work in. I offered to give Darkvale a proper character bio and I walked away. So Sina worked in retail and didn't feel like working in that department and wanted to move somewhere else and wasn't immediately accommodated. Yeah. You know, just basically being alive, it doesn't earn you accommodations throughout the world. No matter what you identify as or who you identify as. You have to kind of earn your way. Otherwise, you get these harsh realities of like, well, okay, wow, Spider-Man, can I work for Spider-Man? Can I write Spider-Man? Like, well, have you earned it? Have you earned it? That's the question. Back to the article. Today, he is followed up, and it may explain more of his anger and frustration at Marvel. Toward the end of my time there, I'd been getting a sense that Marvel editors were lying about keeping me in mind for projects after Iceman. And the following incident sealed the deal in terms of being told, not in any legally binding way, that I'd overstayed my welcome at the House of Ideas. Sometime in 2018, my editor at a different publishing house asked if I'd pitch for an all-ages Spider-Man book they were licensed to produce. Okay, that's called... Here's a couple things. When you go and you present yourself to editors who can hire you, and they say, okay, I'll keep you in mind, and then you say, hey, can you keep me in mind? And then they respond like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll keep you in mind, They'll keep you in mind to the extent of their ability, to the extent that you can solve a problem for them. Because when people get hired, they don't get hired because, they're beautiful people that are just creative and deserve a chance. Like, people get hired because they solve problems for the people they work for. So we're going to publish a comic book. Well, we're going to need to hire, could be a writer, could be an artist, could be a writer and an artist, a colorist, a letterer. We need people who can solve our problem for that. And part of our problem is not having this weird hysterical media and having to explain drag queen mutants if that's not what the publisher was up to doing at the moment. It's just making the life easy for the people that you hire. So yes, not in any legally binding way were people saying that they wanted to give this person work. Continuing, that would be IDW. Bleeding Cool is identifying who publish a licensed line of Marvel all-ages superhero comics, including The Avengers, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Sorry, Sina, I didn't mean to interrupt. Right. So, Sina was asked if he would pitch for an all-ages Spider-Man book that they were licensed to produce. Now, why? Why did Sina get that opportunity? In one sentence, Sina is being asked, like, well, keep me in mind for projects, I assume, and probably I'm right, that Sina had been telling this editor and probably 40 or 50 other editors who he had access to their email, like, hey, keep me in mind for projects, let me know if you need a pitch, So this project comes in, and very generously, the editor at IDW says, that Sina guy, you know what? Let me give him a chance to pitch at this. Maybe there's a way we can give him this project or maybe something else. Why not? That's a nice thing for an editor to do. It's not an obligation. Editors don't need to do that. That's what freelance means. There's no, unless it's something that's spelled out specifically in the work, the whole premise of freelance work is that you're going to go from project to project, not that you're going to be able to either guilt people or threaten people or whatever Sina is trying to do here. It's to say, like, listen, if I tell you that I'm looking for work, you need to obligate yourself to me. That's not what freelance actually is. And back to the article. Considering I saw C.B. Cebulski have a conniption at a Comic-Con party when another Marvel Comics writer told him he'd been courted to do the same for Avengers, I asked that Editorial absolutely sure Marvel was cool with me pitching for this project. So I gave Editorial at IDW an assignment to do. because I'm a freelancer. And I said, listen, go find out it's cool, like for me to pitch for this, because I don't want to waste my super valuable time. So you're offering me an opportunity to get a job to pitch to me, but now I'm giving you an assignment. So you need to go run and check that out. All right, so the editor jumps through the stupid hoop. The editor got the approval, and Sina says, I wrote a damn good idea that was on fast track to being the next arc in the series. For those who aren't familiar, when you're not a household name, pitching for a legacy character is quite a bit of work. Poor baby. Given my lifelong love of Spider-Man, it wasn't exactly grueling to come up with a handful of ideas and then properly outline the one my editor liked the most. But it's still work. Like, all right, so you had the opportunity of a lifetime and you're still complaining. All that being said, I felt great about the final document. And that I'd bought myself a few more months of being Marvel adjacent so I could continue growing my own platform. My reputation for being known for my writing chops, and then rinse off the notion that I was ever anyone's diversity hire. You know what? You don't have to be anyone's diversity hire. Just do great work, man. And stop asking for special legs up and favors. People pitch work all of the time. I'm a self-publisher. I publish entire projects at my own expense with a lot of time and promotion. I've published more than 1,000 comic books. They don't all make money, and they're not easy to produce. And sometimes you don't get paid for your time. And being able to pitch on Spider-Man, that would have been amazing for you. But you need to earn it. It's not like, can I just have free stuff because it would be great for me? No, you can't. You can't just have free stuff because it would be great for you. Now go away. Cut to a few weeks later, and my editor tells me that I can't be used for the series. The exact words he relayed from Marvel were, quote, they'd like to keep the focus on Iceman for now. That email, end quote. That email came the day I turned in my last script for Iceman. I reached out to Marvel's talent relations guy, and he got me on the phone they used to have editors. I don't know what a talent relations person is supposed to do. He got me on the phone to explain a completely different reason, why I was taken off the book. He said that Marvel only wanted people with experience in all ages, because they were from different formatting rules than goes into a standard comic script. Parentheses, a half-truth that doesn't matter when you read the next sentence. Now, there is something to saying I want all ages experienced writers, certifiably. Like, you can point to their other prior work and say, yeah, this is an all ages writer. Because obviously, the reason Marvel licensed these titles to IDW was to kind of test the waters on sending work out to another publisher, having them meet a certain standard, and also have them be, look, I haven't seen any of the books. I have no idea if they're any good or not, but at least have them be separate from whatever the editorial priorities were at Marvel, and I would assume outside the continuity. But when you want to do a children's book, or you want to do specifically certain grade level work, what you do is you go and you make your editorial contacts and you call people and you make sure that you hire someone with extensive experience in those markets. And what happens is, because you've done that legwork and you've pulled your contacts and you've got good people who have certifiable experience, so when books are being shown as collected editions to buyers for Scholastic or buyers for libraries or whatever other specific markets, you can say, hey, I've got this writer on it that is known to be good. Conversely, you're not going to put a writer on there that's controversial, because that would mean they could look at the entire line and say, oh, this controversial writer did it? Oh, yeah, you know what? We're not interested in this garbage. In fact, that may be the whole reason that Marvel licensed the titles away from any controversial creative people outside of Marvel, so that these could make it into mass market distribution and have no drag queen characters or whatever. I mean, I don't know what Marvel's pushing in their books now, but for their all ages material. Maybe they don't want drag queen mutants. Maybe not. Maybe they do. I don't know. But that would be the reason why a publisher would do it. Back to Sina Grace here. I mentioned that I did an all-ages book for Simon & Schuster, a middle-grade series for Image Comics, short stories for Boom Studios, and edited an all-ages title for Robert Kirkman. Now, this comment that I did an all-ages book for Simon & Schuster, or a middle-grade series for Image Comics, short stories for Boom Studios, edited an all-ages title for Robert Kirkman. This is meaningless experience. This is not the kind of experience I was talking about. I'm talking about people who've got certified experience, multiple scripts, approved as, hey, this was really good material, and you don't need to even, people have it on their resume. You can kind of see what the work is. You can look at it. You can look at what the public comments are on their work, and also sometimes talk to their former editor, make sure that, yeah, this person's good people, and they'll color in the lines. They'll execute a mass market product for you that can go in any different distribution channel you want, as opposed to the freewheeling, crazy Marvel editorial team. The talent relations guy was like, oh, I didn't know all that. He then went on to say Marvel had a list of people they wanted this editor to approach, and as a result, some wires got crossed, and thus I was out several months' work. Well, hold on a minute. Look, if an editor invites you to pitch on something, that is not an obligation. That means you may have a chance. You may not have a chance. That editor might just be trying to steal an idea from you. People do all sorts of wacky stuff. But in most cases, they're giving you a chance, probably because you solicited them and said, hey, let me know if you ever have a chance for me to pitch on something that you think I might be good on. So they got a chance. Beyond that, you're entitled to nothing. Several months' work implies, a ridiculous amount that this gentleman, Sina Grace, obviously did not do if he just wrote a pitch. He didn't. Several months would be 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, for 5 or 6 months, and all of a sudden, you just found out that the work is not going to get compensated. Doesn't look like it. Particularly when Sina says earlier, what I'm looking to do is to get my credibility from writing your Spider-Man title so I can pretend or claim or prove, whatever it might be, that he wasn't some diversity hire, which apparently he hasn't successfully done. He didn't offer to fix the problem. He didn't offer to throw me any number of space filler miniseries that were basically just keeping Jonathan Hickman's seat warm. Nothing. Okay, yeah, there's no free rides, buddy. No free rides. In response, I said to the talent relations guy, do you believe what you're telling me? He didn't have a particularly good answer, because that is kind of like just sort of a hysterical, argumentative question. So what do you want him to tell you? No, I don't believe it. What is the right answer supposed to be? Do I have to be a drag queen mutant to figure out what the right answer is? I don't know. If you're wondering, none of the writers who did end up getting hired for these all-ages titles had legitimate experience with all-ages material, according to Sina Grace. Probably it's a kind way of saying, Sina, you created all sorts of problems with Iceman. We now have a weird thing going on with a character you created. We've got a lot of people annoyed by it. It's not actually selling books. No, we're not going to have you polluting with weird ideas the all-ages material that other buyers are aware of. Sina exclaims says here, they're all great writers, and some of them are his homies, but not. It's not like they came from Scholastic or Random House. You can accuse people of all sorts of things and say, hey, well, why would you hire this person instead of me? It's highly inappropriate. It's highly inappropriate. It's not your place. You need to either earn the work or go on and work on something else. So this kind of just goes on a little bit further on Sina's blog, so let's finish it. All of this to say, I went above and beyond to make sure I was approved to pitch on a project. I worked my butt off and wrote something my editor was incredibly enthusiastic about, which wasn't claimed earlier, but supposedly is maybe true. And then I magically got unpicked and wasn't offered a reasonable explanation. Well, there's nowhere in Sina's previous accounting of what happened said that, yeah, you were working on this book, you're hired, here's a contract. And just assuming that you're hired and doing work on something, that doesn't mean that you're hired. You can't just fake it till you make it that way and get a contract. A substitute gig or kill fee for the work I put in a proposal. Yeah, thanks, Marvel. Like, you should be thanking Marvel for giving you an opportunity that apparently you didn't make the most of. This whole debacle wasn't included in a piece I wrote last year because the editor I was working with asked me not to. Not to what? Maybe you're not a good writer. Given that his relationship with Marvel was already tenuous, he didn't need more pressure and stress. This guy went to bat for me and helped me get one of my favorite gigs, and I've been in this position as an editor dealing with multiple bureaucracies. Yeah, sometimes you do have to. I didn't want to make his life any harder, but he's no longer at that company, and he gave me permission to bring this up, so here we are. So the person at IDW that was trying to help him and go to bat for him left, so now he can talk smack about Marvel and IDW again. Okay. I hate that I'm once again in a position where I have to call out Marvel on some BS. What BS? There's no BS. You're selling your services. If I choose to hire you, I hire you. If I choose not to, I choose not to. If I choose not to for my own reasons, I don't owe you an explanation. That's Marvel's position. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. It doesn't matter if you feel special. This is the freelance publisher relationship. If you want to be a publisher, you get to make all those decisions. You could decide who you want to hire and not hire. But until you're the publisher, when you're just on the end of being the freelancer, no, you don't get to decide. Everything I've done in my career will once again be boiled down to semi-attractive queer comic creator complains about Marvel Comics. Like, well, yes, because go do something else more distinctive. Never mind that I've been at this since I was in high school, like everyone else. Ran Kirkman's own imprint before I was 25, which, I'm sorry to have to say, but if you were good at running imprints, other people would be offering you positions of running imprints. That's just what happens. The fact that you didn't do well at a job and weren't able to maintain it, it doesn't mean that you accomplished something great. It's great to get a job, to run an imprint, but if you're not still there, it's because obviously they didn't like what you were doing. And I've gone on to write almost all of my favorite DC characters after leaving Marvel. Good for you. It's shitty to be an individual talking about a beloved company, but it's the right thing. No, it's not the right thing to do. This is unfortunate because, this is what dads used to be there for, is to say, like, listen, trying to be adorable and have people like you and, be special. And like, that's fine when you're a small child. But when you grow up, what you need to do is you need to distinguish yourself from other people that you're competing with for work and for opportunities and show them why you're the best. That is what Sina Grace needs to do. Until Sina Grace does that, Sina Grace will not do well in this or any other industry and will be looked at and defined as someone who gets breaks, because the only thing that Sina Grace seems to be putting a lot of energy into is anything he feels like, as well as being given a chance because of his identity. And that's unfortunate. So if you don't want to be known for that, Mr. Grace, then don't just be that. Be more than that. It's your choice. Your choice is supporting College of the Dead Graduation Day. Back that book. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support me. Click the bell for notifications. Comment below. Tell me what you think of this phenomenal Sina Grace story. And also go to epicmermaids.com and sign up for the Mermaids email list. You'll be notified when it's released. It's an epic mermaid fantasy. It's like Game of Thrones with mermaids. There are more than 30 characters. I'm sure you'll love it. I know I do. And I spent like 2 years working on this, collaborating with some creators that really appreciated the opportunity and did an amazing job on it. And we really put together a great project, and much, much, much respect for my freelancers who work hard like that. I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.